You know, all growing up, I used to hear my dad say this expression, and I'm sure he didn't create it, but it was, the more I know people, the more I love animals. And that really was me all growing up. Loved animals. Always dogs. Then I met my wife, and then it was cats. And then I met a little veiled chameleon named Eleanor. And I was so blindsided because I never expected to love her like I loved any of my dogs or any of my cats or any animals. It caused me to meet a lot of people who helped me raise her. And that's really what this show is all about. One, I want you to see these amazing creations of God. That's what's going to be different from our show. We acknowledge a creator, and these are creations. And then the goal is really simple. By educating you and having fun doing it, I'm going to get more of these great homes. And then I'm going to teach you guys how to be great owners so they can live long and great lives. The other part of the show that's going to be real important is finding the perfect pet for you based on your lifestyle. And what you'll find is that in some cases, you can give a lizard or a bird or a frog or a turtle a much better life than you could give a dog with where your life and lifestyle is at. So we'll discover that together. And then finally, I think in my story with Eleanor, I needed help because I would talk on the radio about her and things I was doing, and experts were listening going, ooh, boy, I wonder if she's getting enough calcium. And two of them reached out. So part of this journey is the amazing friends and experts I made, how I fell in love with these creations, and now, together, all of us going on a journey that's going to help you be a better owner, maybe an owner of a species you've never thought you would own, and they're going to have a great life because you know how to raise them. This is episode 1 of The Jungle Room. Who knows, maybe on our 2nd, 3rd, or 4th anniversary, we'll see if we can do another segment with her. By then, she'll be 5 feet long. Welcome to the jungle. I'm Michael Del Giorno along with Mike Wedikin and Chris Jones, and this very first episode we're going to focus just kind of on I'm a big fan of the making of a messenger. I think it sets the table, the clear motive, the transparency before a message. And so this is kind of in a Christian term our testimony of how we met, because this is not only a journey of discovery of different species, a journey of understanding and education and making you a better owner and the critters have a better life. It's also the journey of our friendship and how we met. So we kind of wanted to explain that to you. I want to do a couple of quick things. We are literally in jungle temperatures right now. So yes. As video goes, and we wanted this to be a video show, but our first vision was, well, let's do a podcast. Let's really educate people. So I am an animal freak who has a wife he loves very much, 3 children who are all just like me. So in my home, I have a dog, Boomer Baker Mayfield. He is an English Shepherd. I highly recommend the breed. We have 3 cats, 1 exotic, a chocolate exotic mix. We have a Himalayan, and we have a Maine Coon. We have an Oxalotl. That I owe to these guys. Meeting them and going to the Exotic Pet Show, I discovered one of the foremost experts on oxalotls. Oh, Max is the hit of the house. Rats. We have become quite the rat family. And then, of course, we have a snake named Dexter, who you're going to meet eventually, I know. But now I have Duke. Mike actually bought Duke to mate with Eleanor. Only we had spent all this time searching for Duke, money on Duke. He flew in first class, only to find out Duke had a reptile dysfunction, if you will. He was incapable of breeding. And then somewhere along the line, he paid for Duke, and then I just stole Duke. I don't know, it got to a point where I just said, no, you can't have him.
It was pretty much, Eleanor died, and then you stole Duke.
I just stole Duke. So that's my story. I love animals, discovered exotic pets, fell in love with them, fell in love with the exotic pet community, and it struck up an amazing friendship with these 2 experts, who I want you to meet now. Let's start with Mike Wedikin, and I say it fast because if I say it fast, you can't tell I'm saying it wrong. I don't know why that's such a hard one to pronounce.
You do good. I've been in this hobby for, I guess, about 25 years now. I started just with my girlfriend at the time, my wife now.
Yeah.
She got me a snake for my birthday.
Wow.
And I was just fascinated as I could be with it and had to have more. and I needed to learn everything I could about that snake, and then it went on to, geckos, chameleons, different lizards, tortoises, turtles, and I've just really been interested in all these years with trying to retain as much knowledge as I can. It's a community, as you now know, and we share information. It's about the education. It's part of what this show is about, is teaching but learning yourself. When I met you, I was hearing you say some things on the radio about Eleanor, and I'm like, you've got such a reach in the community with your radio show. I wanted to make sure that
we weren't giving misinformation.
Right. And I didn't want you to have a bad experience, because a bad experience, you would probably have that on the radio show in some shape or form. And so I felt obligated to reach out, and I'm glad I did. I met you at a show. We traded some information, and some of the things that we talked about that day, when it came up, you called me. And that's where all this started.
Well, if it was supposed to be a superficial thing where every now and then we stayed in touch, that ended quickly, because if Eleanor so much as belched, I would call him panicked until one day it was really worth panicking.
And what's neat about it is that as you've learned, I've learned more. You've learned more. It is an ongoing educational thing. Not every situation is the exact same. Even if you're talking about the same species of animal, how you keep an animal is different. What you can make work, maybe I can't make work. And
well, we learned that quickly when he brought me a colony of roaches.
Yes.
Let me tell you something at home. Roaches are very nutritious for chameleons. It's a great source of nutrition. The problem is you get the colony, and what nobody tells you is the parents hover over the young. You don't want to touch the parents, you want them to keep reproducing. So you're fishing out their young to feed to your chameleon. And the roaches would all go and make all these, and it creeped me out. So he eventually had to come and get them. I couldn't do it.
What's normal for a lot of us in the hobby as far as the feeder insect.
Oh, it grossed me out.
He probably had names for every single one of them.
Well, I do get attached. Like we fed earlier today, your large giant frog, a live mouse. I can't do that in my home.
Oh. So why did it have to be live?
Yeah.
So we wouldn't eat it.
What kind of a frog eats a mouse anyway?
A big one.
But it is big, and you're going to meet him in later shows. But like with our Dexter, who is a bald python, we get the frozen mice thawed out and feed him. And so we make it work for our family, because we have mice and we love mice. And I mean, we've had cats get at our mice, and that's a tragic night. So I don't want to make it a part of a buffet. One of the things I noticed about both of you, and I think this is a key, this is a teachable moment.
I'm better looking.
That and stronger than we knew when we met you. Man, you're going to see in later episodes him just like clean jerk a 125-pound tortoise. And run about 50 yards with it. But you're both curious. I find people in the exotic pet community are curious. Yeah. And for you at home, curiosity is what feeds intelligence. You won't find an intelligent person who isn't first and foremost curious.
Sure. But you have to be curious in this hobby. You have to want to know the answer and then test that answer. There's certain things that are completely acceptable today that were complete
taboo. Do you feel like you have an area of expertise? Or
I don't.
Reptile? I mean, you guys are all over the road with what you own.
You won't ever catch me say so.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I watched you put my snake's intestines back in its body. That's true. Don't forget, we're going to bring you the top experts of different species throughout this journey. But I'm sitting, make no mistake about it, they won't use that word, I'm sitting next to two very knowledgeable people. This is Chris Jones, obviously somewhere along the line. Me and Mrs.
Yes,
Jones,
well, she's in the house right now.
Rosie, what happens, let me do this off, let's get this out of the way in episode 1. When you see us at this particular Jungle Room set, we're stuffed, we're bloated, and we're sleepy.
Food. It's true.
Rosie is off the rails. When you come over to the house, Rosie has 17 different appetizers, 5 different main entrees.
You can show up, and it comes out.
And there's no saying no. And the portion sizes.
It's a wonder we're awake right now.
It's Rosie de Beppo, all right?
Yes.
When you're not surviving Rosie, father, husband, fence builder at a great, he built my fence at home, a great fence company. But walk us through your falling in love with exotic pets.
I grew up loving turtles, and so at the age of 5 or 6 years old, I saved all the money I could possibly get, bought some chicken wire, bought a kid's pool, and just rotated turtles out all summer long. And that's where my love for reptiles started. When I was a kid, most of it was stuff that I found in my backyard: snakes, frogs, turtles, and I would keep them for a while, learn about them, let them go, replace them. And then as I got older, that kind of carried on.
Everything you saw in that show open, only because Mike's weren't available.
It lives here.
It lives here,
Yeah.
or it lives in my home.
Right now, we've probably got roughly 450 to 500. I don't know. We try to do an inventory once a year, and that was 2 years ago. Was my last inventory, and I just gave up.
Do you think you have an area that your curiosity has allowed you to be the most in depth at?
Well, as we talk about some of the species we're going to talk about throughout this show, I keep a lot of New Caledonian geckos, so I feel like I've got a small grasp on that. Turtles I know a lot about. I started keeping Abronia. I've started keeping different species of anoles that I'm learning a lot more about. And, when I met Sweet Rosie in there, I had 9 snakes. I was getting ready to do a snake breeding project, and she said, "We can't do this." We'd been married for a couple years, fast forward a couple years, and she got me a bearded dragon, and from that point on,
She got you a couple of daughters, a couple of sons,
everything
a couple
started inching in. We had Christopher, then we had Lainey, and then we had to get rid of the bearded dragons because that was now Lainey's room. She felt bad, and so we got a couple box turtles, and then it just kind of grew to where we have it now. So 4 kids, 2 dogs, 1 wife, and 500 plus reptiles.
Here's what we all have in common. It's not the more we know people, the more we love animals. We love our wives very much. We love our children very much. That's the priority of our life. But we love God and we love His creation. And you're going to be introduced to a lot of creations you didn't know existed.
Amen.
And I hope you understand. I was a dog-cat person. I never thought. These guys were grabbing things as kids off the ground. I was running from them. But notice how our journeys, so different, all led to the same place. And your journey where you're at is unique, but it could lead you to the same place. We don't know what God's going to do with this show. It could be something you just enjoy weekly, you watch with your kids weekly. It may lead to you buying a pet and raising it in your home, or finding the right pet to raise in your home. It may end up in a classroom. It may end up at the zoo. We don't know. It may end up on a network. We don't know. We just want to begin to celebrate God's creation and begin the journey of discovery and learning and understanding and giving critters better, healthier, happier homes. Share it on Facebook, share it on Twitter,
Yes,
share it on YouTube, share it as many places as you can. That's going to do a great service for us. Down the road, we might even get to some merchandising. We might even get into some live shows from the zoo and get a chance to spend some time with those creations of God as well. Like I said earlier, we serve a God who's past, present, and future simultaneously. We're not. We're just on this road together. Let's see where it leads us. Welcome back to the Jungle Room. I'm Michael Del Giorno, along with Chris Jones and Mike Wedikin. And I got old Rosie here. You got Blue?
Blue.
What I want to do in this segment, in this short time we have, I really wanted this first episode to be crystal clear. This is a journey of discovery, a journey of education, a journey of you finding a love affair with these exotic pets and creations, and ultimately the right one for you and your home and your children. And then we also, clearly want to get through the education process, and we do it, I think, with great experts, and I think we do it with a lot of fun too. So what I want to do in this final segment is just kind of show you, we'll do every show on a different species, and that will become important after the fact. Maybe down the road you're thinking about getting a guinea pig, you will just go and watch the show on guinea pig down the road. So each show will feature a different species. We won't go 15 minutes on who we all are, that's just an episode 1 feature. But just to kind of walk it through twofold, what we're going to do normally in an episode, and just to kind of finish this first episode, because we got to get a couple of these on, and you met her in the open, so let's finish with her. We're going to give you all the who, what, where, when, and why. So this is a specific species that comes from a specific part of the world, and it behaves a specific way in the wild. And what we try to recreate when we have it in its habitat in your home, what's important to replace what happens in the wild, and of course to keep them healthy and give you the clear, crystal clear expectation of what's involved. Things will be broken down from novice. I picked a very, very difficult species, an veiled chameleon. I didn't know better, but a bearded dragon would have been much better for a beginner. So we'll kind of walk through this for everything, but I think you're going to find there's something for everyone, from the curious to the experts, always curious to learn even more. So, Chris, first of all, give them the species. We'll start right there before I turn to Mike. I fell in love with these instantly. Now, you need to realize on this one, it's got to be, what, how many feet when it's all said and done?
This is a female, this is a male, so the female is probably going to be between 3.5 and 4 feet long, and he's going to be pushing 5.
Wow.
So most of that's going to be this tail. These are albino blue tegus, and they're from South America. And we'll get into so many different things on a tegu episode that we're going to do. There's lots to talk about these
They're
guys.
very sweet. The females are a little more calm than the males, and you can see that just by watching them in my hands. I will say the top of their heads, the body is like a soft, dry lizardy feeling, like almost like vinyl.
Dry,
and yet that
lizardy feeling.
well, that's an
It's all
expert.
sciencey over
That's,
here.
yeah, that's a good explanation.
But the top of the head looks like a cowboy boot.
Yeah,
It's shiny and it looks like
nice and smooth.
really nice. All right, so Mike, walk them through what we'll do with each species.
What we're going to do on each episode for the particular species is walk through just the introduction of everything and then dive deeper into each topic as we go along. So we'll get into the common name there, which is this is the tegu, and it's Argentine of descent. They're also found in Colombia and other parts of
So I could be holding a drug mule.
theoretically.
Okay.
Yeah. And then but
I watch a lot of Ozark. Go ahead.
it's a great show.
It is.
And then their temperature and lighting requirements. And Chris, fill in the blanks here with the temperature and lighting requirements as we kind of go through these.
So tegus like it hot where they come from. It gets really hot, really humid in the summertime, a lot like Middle Tennessee. And then they actually hibernate in the winter. So they'll go into a Burmation state. So ours are, for the majority of the late fall, winter, early spring, are just bedded down and sleeping. And
Sounds like me during football season.
well, I'll tell you, and sometimes you've got to go to certain extents and actually move them out to get them to wake up. Sometimes they're just, like you when football season's over, you just want a little more. And
Or the Masters. The Masters,
That's it.
you have to watch closely to make sure I'm still breathing.
yeah, well, most of the golfers too. But yeah, so these guys, heating requirements, hot. If you're going to be indoors, UVB, you definitely need a higher UVB. A 10.0 I recommend, mercury vapor. And then as far as food wise, they eat just about anything. Lately we've been feeding them a diet of tilapia, blueberries, and turkey. Some cut up chicken.
Now, where would they get tilapia in the wild?
Well, they'll catch fish in the wild. They're very adept swimmers.
Yeah,
Really?
They're not going to have tilapia
And-
in the wild, but they're
But they'll eat fish in the wild. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And
I
that's
thought
the
maybe
thing.
Rosie was being Rosie again. They're
Well,
eating chicken tetrazzini.
They
Who
might
knows?
be. And small rodents.
Can we get a close up? Because I think one thing we find a lot with some of these, especially reptiles, that the males are so much better looking.
Well, these are actually two different types of albino. So this is a T positive and that's a T negative. So albinism isn't only one strand, especially when it comes to different species. You can have several different
Yeah, but the head shape
spans.
is different. The arm. I mean, he's
He's going to be stockier. He's going to be
good looking.
He's going to have a bigger head as an adult. He's just going to be bigger and more.
just trying to make
robust all
excuses
over.
for Duke and why he won't breed. The male veil is so much better looking than the female.
But he's going to sleep now. He's closing his eyes.
Diet.
Well, like he said, they're going to eat a lot of different things, both in the wild and in captivity. In captivity, things when they're younger, insects, superworms, roaches, crickets, pinky mice, blueberries, other types of fruits like that. A little bit of vegetation, right?
Well, most of the vegetation we're trying to replace whole foods, so they're predominantly carnivorous.
Because that's an expensive store.
Well, yes, Dollar General works better. They're predominantly a carnivorous lizard, but as they're eating whole animals, they're getting whatever that animal's ingested. So we're trying to add some vegetation material, hence the blueberries and some other stuff that we'll put into there to make sure that they're getting all of that. Obviously, we'll feed them whole rodents. We don't feed a whole lot of rodents. They'll probably get one every other week.
Tough being a mouse, a cricket, and a roach.
It is.
You know, they kind of always get eaten. Walk us through ears. What am I seeing here on the side?
So ears, yes. What you're looking at here is an opening that's covered with a tympanic
membrane.
Tympanic membrane. And he wants to come to you, Mike. And so that membrane's there to cover to make sure that as they're attacking their prey and eating their food, dirt and whatnot doesn't get inside of there. But they have ears, much unlike snakes who have an internal ear but are mostly feeling vibrations.
Different tongue than a chameleon, for example. Though.
Well, and so like
a snake, right?
Like a snake, it has a forked tongue, which means it's got a Jacobson's organ, which they're tasting the air, basically picking up air particles, bringing them in, putting them into their Jacobson's organ. That's why it's forked, because it goes into the back of the head, into its Jacobson's organ, and it's telling them everything about what they're tasting in the air around them. That's how they find food. And
who this works for is, well, you got to understand lifespan and growth cycles. So obviously, if you think this is adorable now, but you can't picture it at 5 feet, it may not be right for you. But what kind of caging and bedding and supplies?
So very, very fast growers. These guys will reach adult size in roughly a year. And
it takes them a little bit longer to fill out.
It does, but lengthwise, they're gonna be growing over the course of the first 3+ years. But as far as your enclosure, which keeping them in, what might work for a baby, which is roughly a third of this size, is certainly not going to work for an adult. Mike, you want to touch on a little bit on caging, what size they'll need finally with these guys?
Yeah, when one's this size, you know the main thing with caging is being able to offer not just the space, the square footage, but a temperature gradient. Mm-hmm. You have to give them the top end of the temperature requirements, but
and
also the lower end.
Right.
So and give them the opportunity to decide. So you delivering the tools and allowing them to use it. So one like this is 40-gallon or so equivalent, 3 feet long, 1.5 feet or so, from front to back, and then and letting them outgrow that. And by the time they outgrow that, they're big enough to handle something much larger that will.
What do you do when they're 5 feet?
Walk softly.
Yes.
Carry a big stick.
So 4 to 6 feet wide by 6 to 8 feet long enclosure. Large. These guys they're not aquatic, but they're very adept in the water. So, in their natural environment, they're coming across water bodies all the time. They swim really well. So you want to give them something large enough to where
a kiddie pool.
They can get in and play. Not just soak in, but something that they could swim around in. So,
because you're going to find in later episodes, people will come across different trends or come across things when they're cute and young. You got to take all this into consideration because they're going to be that big in a hurry, and if that doesn't work for your family, it doesn't work for your family. Lifespan.
That's true. Lifespan 15 to 25 years.
Oh. So you're gonna see me joke about that a lot, but kids will want things, and parents, you got to understand. If your kids are 10 years old and you're getting something that's going to live 25, 40, in some cases we're going to have some 80-year-old pets, that doesn't work. They're going to go to college and you're going to be having this pet. So lifespan is a big question to make sure you're aware of when choosing. I hope this kind of served a little bit as a kind of what we're going to do. Now, a normal episode would be all just that species, so we'll get a lot more in-depth and get a lot more funny, too, at times. We seriously wanted you to know our heart tonight. This is going to be a long journey of discovery, a long journey of education and learning, a long journey of being in awe, and a productive one of you finding the perfect critter for your home. And we're going to expose them to you all before the journey's over, along with some of the top experts. So I hope you take this time to know our heart, know our mission, get on board with the journey. And if you know somebody off the top of your head, oh my gosh, they love these things, share it. Share it on Facebook, share it on Twitter, share it on YouTube. Let's expose this and see where this goes. More the merrier, as I like to say. So let me just kind of close the way I opened. Welcome to the Jungle Room. It's the Exotic Pet Roundtable, and we hope you'll join us again next week. I think next week is spiders and snakes. Yeah, let's just pull the Band-Aid. Well, because I'm still afraid of spiders. It's my biggest fear. And I have a snake, and I've learned that I love Dexter, and I'm not afraid of Dexter. That doesn't mean I'm not still afraid of other snakes. So spiders and snakes, and watch me lose my man card next week, right here on the Jungle Room. You guys get it. Awesome.